Finally, we're here. We're doing it. We're making this happen. Jeez. Feels really good. So, this is a stream I've been planning for a little while. I finally get to it now that the remaster is out. So let me kind of lay out what this is supposed to be. This is not a comprehensive 100% guide, like not 100% like all achievements or all weapons and items. This is a guide to get a melee fighter based character from the front of the game to the back. Oh, hey dude. Yeah, sorry, people are coming in. This is a guide. I guess it's a playthrough, but it's a playthrough / guide designed to help melee focused players through the game from the front to the back with getting easy to find rings and items and other utilities for people who might have just picked this game up or are new to the series or new to this game in the series who might not know what to do. And this is meant to help those people. This is going to be an all bosses run, front to back. That's what I mean by front to back, is all bosses, melee based character. I'm going to be using conventional armor. I'm going to be using the Elite Knight set with the Crest Shield and the Claymore. And I'm saying right up front that those are the weapons I'm going to be using. All of these sets, all of these equipment items are very, very easy to get early, are very easy to understand, and very fun to use. So that's basically the long and short of it. And I'll be breaking things down, or like why stuff happens as we go along. So, to begin, we are playing in offline mode because Jesus Christ, do I not want to deal with invaders today. Oh, they added the continue button. Wow, they actually took the effort to add that in. I'm not going to try too hard to gripe. I'm going to treat this like it's the original version. I'm going to try not to gripe too hard about the state the remaster's in. But this is also, beyond just being for beginners, this is also to show my appreciation for the differences in all three games and what I like and dislike about each. And I'm just going to talk about it organically, like what I enjoy. Effort. Yeah, but listen, I'm not going to try to gripe too hard about the remaster. I'm just going to talk about what I like and what I dislike in all three games. And I'm not going to do that in any sense where I'm just going to be like trying to be methodical about it. I'm just going to talk about it when that kind of stuff pops up. For the most part, though, the point is to be helpful to people. Now, without further ado, let's begin. Create a class. Enter character name. His name is going to be Jimmy Scrub. And he will be a generic male. Best starting class. Okay, so I'm going to start breaking this down. Your experience with this trilogy can be... Your experience with this trilogy can be made great or can be made terrible, depending on how you start. A good beginning can make or break a playthrough. So, regarding this, you want to have a good start, because losing early game materials is really crippling to the rest of your experience throughout the game. And the best starting class that I would recommend for beginners in this game, just about every time, is the Warrior, because they have perfectly balanced stats for a melee fighter. They have a decent vitality, endurance, They have strength and dexterity. And I'll break down what all that means for anybody who doesn't understand, too. Now, but basically, they have the stats that are conducive to very good melee style of play, which is what's most important. Knight is also pretty decent. Knight's stats are very balanced all around. And then you have all these different sets. But like I said, just start Warrior. It'll be much easier on you in the beginning. Gift. Now, I'm going to teach you a little trick using black fire bombs early. And you can pick, really, Goddess's Blessing, which later on in the series, in 2 and 3, got renamed the Divine Blessing. Twin Humanities is a healing item that also adds to a specific mechanic of the game, which I'll go over later. Binoculars, they self-explanatory. Pendant is a gag item. It literally does what it says on the box. People tried for years to see if it would do anything. It does nothing. It's a joke item. It says trinket, no effect, but fond memories comfort travelers. That is all that it is. That's what it says. That's what it does. Master key opens any basic lock. Initial equipment for thief. So if you start the thief class, you get this anyways. But this is a good starting item for people who are going to take shortcuts and backtracks and know what they're doing really early on. Tiny Beings Ring. This later became known as the Life Ring in 2 and 3. It's a very shitty ring. Don't get it. Old Witch's Ring. Ancient ring with no obvious effect. So this one's kind of interesting. So this one, this is the only way you can get it is as a starting gift, and it only counts towards one character in the game who you cannot converse with without this ring, for completely optional dialogue that really has no effect on you. It's amazing, and I love it, and it's really interesting, but Black Fire Bomb. Physique, average, face. We're going to do Astora Noble with semi-long hair. It's gonna make it gold. Except, now we get to watch this cutscene.
In the age of ancients, the world was unformed, shrouded by fog. A land of grey crags, arch trees, and everlasting dragons. But then there was fire, and with fire came disparity. Heat and cold, life and death, and of course, light and dark. Then from the dark they came and found the souls of lords within the flame. Nito, the first of the dead. The Witch of Izalith and her daughters of Chaos. Gwyn, the Lord of Sunlight, and his faithful knights. And the furtive pygmy, so easily forgotten. With the strength of lords, they challenged the dragons. Gwyn's mighty bullets peeled apart their stone skills. witches weaved great firestorms. Nito unleashed a miasma of death and disease. And Seath the Scaleless betrayed his own, and the dragons were no more. Thus began the Age of Fire. But soon the flames will fade, and only dark will remain. Even now, there are only embers. And man sees not light, but only endless nights. And amongst the living are seen carriers of the accursed dark side. Yes, indeed. The dark sign brands the undead. And in this land, the undead are corralled and led to the north. Where they are locked away to await the end of the world. This is your fate.
That was very refreshing to hear that intro. It's been a while since I watched all that. Now, we begin. Let me break down my options real quick here, what I'm doing. So, on my button settings, I only changed one thing, everything else is at its default. But I changed jump to L3, so I hold down circle and then tap L3 to jump. Options. Everything's normal, camera speed normal, auto lock on and wall recovery are on, vibration is on, blood subtitles and HUD. The only thing I really changed is I turned the music sounds and voice down a little bit so you guys can hear me better, and I downscaled the UI to 90%. Yeah, not really much more to concern myself with. Might turn the camera speed down a little bit. Yeah, I think that feels a little bit better. Mess around with it a bit more, but I think that's what I'm going to work with. So all these messages on the floor are tutorials teaching you basic controls. R1 is light, R2 is heavy, L1 is block if you have a shield, and L2 is parry. X is interact, square is use item, circle is roll, run, and other stamina using movements, and triangle is switched between one-handed and two-handed on your weapon. And your D-pad switches your left hand, right hand weapon, down on it, left, right, down switches your equipment item, of which I have none others, and up switches your magic, which we will not be using for this playthrough. Now, something interesting about this boss. The reason I went with a starting gift of Black Fire Bombs. Black Fire Bombs are incredibly potent against early game enemies. They are very, very strong in the early game, and they do massive damage if you aim them right. Now you can actually see from here the first boss of the game, which you're just kind of thrown right into. You are not meant to fight him right off the bat, and in fact, if you see that doorway over there, you're meant to run to that as soon as the fight starts, so you can go collect your shield or whatever your implements and weapons that you're supposed to be given. We will not be doing that because I want to show you something interesting. So, I'm using circle to dodge roll away from his attacks. Ooh, that one just swung wide. So, pretty simple boss. Really easy to deal with if you know anything about what you're doing, but might prove a little bit difficult. But if you kill him early, you'll be given the Demon's Great Hammer. Guaranteed drop. Now, enough about that. I'll just unequip these. Guaranteed drop. That is a late game strength weapon. It takes a lot of strength to wield, but it is very fun to use and very powerful. But, like I said, we won't be using that. It's just something I wanted to show you, and it's how I start most of my runs. Now, we'll be moving over here real quick. Grabbing our shield. And our sword. Classic backstabs. And footholds. This boulder will roll down as soon as you go up, so you just want to move to the side and let it go. And you meet this character.
Oh, you. You're no hollow. Thank goodness. I'm done for, I'm afraid. I'll die sooner, then lose my sanity. I wish to ask something of you. You and I, we're both undead. Hear me out, will you?
Yes.
Regrettably, I have failed in my mission. But perhaps you can keep the torch lit. There is an old saying in my family. Thou who art undead art chosen. In thine exodus from the undead asylum, maketh pilgrimage to the land of ancient lords. When thou ringeth the bell of awakening, the fate of the undead thou shalt know. Well, now you know. And I can die with hope in my heart. Oh, one more thing. Here, take this. An Estus flask. An undead favorite. Oh, and this.
So, ordinarily, you would only receive the Undead Asylum Floor 2 key, at which point I will show you what that does. But because we already killed the Asylum Demon, we got the Big Pilgrim's Key, which is the key you ordinarily get after killing it.
Now I must bid farewell. I would hate to harm you after death. So go now, and thank you.
And just like that, he died. Rest in peace. Now, this is where the floor 2 key leads. Now, because we have no auxiliary weapons like a bow or anything, there would be a corpse up here, right around here, with an item occupying it. But because we started warrior, we only have a melee weapon and have no use for it. Now, the boss would be right there, and we would jump onto it for a plunging attack, which is R1 while falling, and deal lots and lots of damage. But that's not what we're doing. So, trying to get my parrying practice in. There we go. Not really much else here except a few training dummies. And with that, we're going to head back down and go the way we're supposed to go. We're going to turn the wall recovery off. Oh my god, that feels much better. I was freaking out because the camera was just bouncing off of every wall, but I much prefer just if I can control the camera myself. The camera will re-straighten and follow the player if they just run in a specific direction long enough, like that, which has happened now. But it will, like in a hallway, it'll straighten itself if you hit a wall with the camera or something. But we're not going to do that, so I turned it off. And up we go. Now, to the real game.
Only in the ancient legends it is stated that one day an undead shall be chosen. To leave the undead asylum in pilgrimage to the land of the ancient lords. Lordran.
Well, here we are. Now, first things first, obviously this guy's going to draw your attention. He is a friendly NPC known as the Crestfallen Warrior.
Well, what do we have here? You must be a new arrival. Let me guess. Fate of the undead, right? Well, you're not the first. But there's no celebration here. You'd have done better to rot in the undead asylum. But too late now. Well, since you're here, let me help you out. There are actually two bells of awakening. One's up above in the undead church. The other is far, far below, in the ruins at the base of Blight Town. Ring them both, and something happened. Brilliant, right? Not much to go on, but I have a feeling that won't stop you. So, off you go. It is why you came, isn't it? To this accursed land, the undead. Ah, your face. You're practically hollow. But who knows? Going hollow could solve quite a bit.
So, this is something a lot of characters do. If you are hollowed in any way, shape, or form, they will remark on the condition of your face. Now, what I'd suggest doing, so this is where I'm going to talk about the humanity system. These, in my inventory down below, are hard humanities. By themselves, they do nothing. But when crushed, it adds, you see that number in my upper left? That is my soft humanity count. Soft humanities can be spent at bonfires using any number of things. Soft humanities also have other bonus effects like increasing the drop rate of rare items from enemies. And one other mechanic that I will discuss later when it's more pertinent, because most beginners wouldn't understand it right away anyways. So, but yeah, so you use it as an emergency healing item in most cases. That's mainly what I use it for. And then we're going to reverse our hollowing. Now, bonfires are your main resting points. Every time you sit at a bonfire, you regain your health and Estus flasks. There are different amounts of Estus flasks depending on what bonfires you sit at. This one has 10. There is a maximum of 20, but if we try to kindle, well, there's no humanity. But if we tried to kindle it with humanity in our inventory, it would say, must receive the right of kindling, which is a special, unique item that we will receive at a later date. Now, to roam around a little bit. There are some items and NPCs that you can encounter here, and some good stuff. And of course, in any of these games, you want to thoroughly scour an area when you begin. Every time. Just make a habit of just scrubbing the place. Another friendly NPC.
Hello there. I believe we are not acquainted. I am Petrus of Thurland. Have you business with us? If not, I'd prefer to keep a distance, if possible. Hello there. I realize that I have requested that we retain our distance, but I also want you to know that it is not meant in ill will. Here, take this, as a token of peace. No, go ahead. It's for you. Oh my, you again. Oh, I know. How about this? I have to await my companions here anyway. So what if I were to teach you some miracles? Would that please you?
So you can answer no or yes. Ordinarily I would answer no, but I'm going to answer yes so I can get a gesture from him and see what items he has to sell.
Very well. Then first, a covenant with the gods.
It's no big deal because we can easily abandon this one later. Also, I need it anyways for all these trophies. Shit. I have to 100% this game too, all over again.
Now let me share my miracles. Only their ultimate effectiveness will be determined by your efforts and your faith.
Of which we will not be leveling. Oh, so in a moment I will start Shrug. Perfect. Purchase item. These are miracles, and I will begin explaining those a little later.
My companions are Milady and her young knights.
Milady.
She is young, but burdened by an undead mission. We are her defenses, to keep her from harm. Come again. The effectiveness of the teachings depend upon your faith.
Right then. Now, another item here. Most elevator shafts in this game are bottomless. However, this is not. And in fact, there is treasure afoot in here. That is a cracked red eye ore, which is meant to invade other players and cause them grief. Some weapons. Homeward Bone. This item will send you immediately home to your last bonfire after a short channel. Like, you have to sit down and channel the spell effect, but after about 2 seconds you'll be sent immediately to the last bonfire rested at. And Lloyd's Talismans, which prevent other undead from using their Estus flasks. Now, this is not the right way forward. And indeed, this is not the way I'm going to go. However, I'm going to present to you now it's like a regular Leon Kennedy out here. I'm going to present to you a really good weapon, especially to receive in the early game, that will come to great use, at least until we get the weapon we're actually planning to use for this playthrough. You have to be fast, and you have to know which way you're going, so pay close attention for anybody who wants this weapon. We have it, and now we go back up this hill over here. Don't go back the way you came. Go across this hill. As you can see, there's another big skeleton. That item against that gravestone was a winged spear, which we will not be using. Keep running. We're safe. Now, to begin, explaining stats. Now, all of these mean something. A level is obviously your level. Covenant. Souls is how many souls you're carrying on you at any given moment. Vitality. Now I'm going to break these down one by one. Vitality increases your overall HP. Actually, it'd be best to explain it by presenting what they do at the bonfire. Level up. Vitality increases your HP, and every level up increases your defenses. See? No matter what you level, your defense goes up. Vitality increases your HP. Endurance increases your stamina and equip load and your bleed resist. So equip load is how much you can carry at any given time. You can carry a maximum of that number, but to be efficient with it, you want to be carrying less than half. Stamina is how many swings, rolls, how long you can sprint, stuff like that. And bleed resistance is how many hits you can take from a weapon that has bleed before you bleed to death and die. A horrible, painful death. Strength and dexterity are both physical stats that increase the power of a weapon that is reliant on these stats. Not all weapons are reliant on strength, and not all weapons are reliant on dexterity, and even if they are, some of them are more reliant on strength or dexterity than others. Resistance is worthless. All it increases is your poison resistance. It's a completely worthless and pointless stat that you should never invest in, really. Intelligence and faith are what your miracles, spells and miracles are dependent on, respectively. Humanity refers to your soft humanity. Attunement increases your attunement slots, which you can see all the way to the right. Your attunement slots are basically places where you can equip spells. Spells are not dependent on like mana or other in this game. They're not dependent on conventional means of magic casting. In this game, you have attunement, which is enough attunement creates a slot, and every time you get a new slot, it'll cost more attunement to get another slot. So you'd have to keep power leveling this. See, once I get to 10 attunement, I get 1 attunement slot. Next is 12 attunement, which would give you 2 attunement slots. That would mean that I could attune 1 spell, and at 12 I could attune 2 spells. Attuning a spell means that you basically are permitted to use it. But being permitted to use it by having it in your attunement slot is one thing. You must also have the intelligence or faith to wield that. Now, enough about that. We are going to... Nope, not dexterity. We're going to level up to 16 strength so we can use that weapon we picked up. Now, as you can see, it has a big X over it, and it said, inefficient stats to wield this weapon one-handed. But, if we two-hand it, the red X is gone, which means that now it is safe for me to use to its full effectiveness. It will not work if I one-hand it, but it will if I two-hand it. Now, to begin the journey. Just some trash mobs to practice on. This weapon has long reach and very powerful swings, but loses effectiveness in tight spaces because it only swings horizontally. Now, if you are feeling adventurous, you can try to make that jump. And skirt this way for a Ring of Sacrifice. Ring of Sacrifice will shatter when you die, but will preserve all of your souls. Soul of a Lost Undead. Oh, you know what? Actually, I forgot to use these. So, in Dark Souls Remastered, you can use a specified quantity of them at your leisure. We're already pretty far from the bonfire, so we'll just, Also, always make sure to admire the view in the game, every time. Always admire your view. So, we will, let's wait till we get to the next bonfire. Just needed the long sword real quick to get that rat out of the way. Oof. So these guys I lovingly refer to as Joe Hollow because they're basically your very standard, like, worthless trash mobs. But never underestimate their power in groups and the damage they can deal when they chip you out, especially because I lack the poise to really trade with them right now. Which is another mechanic I should discuss, actually. Don't know why I didn't. I'm gonna actually go back into the status menu. So, poise, as you can see, is a number in the uppermost right. I have 0 currently. Poise is your ability to stand up to physical attacks that are dealt at you, and be able to tank through them. So that means that, say if I had a decent number of poise and a Joe Hollow whacked me with his sword while I was swinging at him, I would take the full damage, but I would power through it and hit him anyways. Let's see, what else? Okay, so I need to talk about physical damage a little bit. So, that says physical defense 77 and then versus strike 80, 77, 77. So what that looks like is that physical defense is, the 77 physical defense is the, like, average of those three because they're like, look like a subsection of physical defense. That is not what that is. They are all different damage types. I don't know why the menus are made like that, but that's how they did it through all 3 games, and it's really dumb, but Your physical defense refers to your defense against standard attacks. A standard attack is from any weapon that deals standard damage, which you can see on a weapon type. Versus strike is weapons like maces and other blunt objects. Slash is sharp swords and things that are made to cut. And thrust is anything that stabs. Now, if you'll look here actually, we'll look, attack type of longsword, regular or thrust. It is a straight sword. And the stats on the left are its attacking bonuses, and the stats on the right are its defending bonuses. On the left you'll see it deals 80 physical damage, plus 26 by scaling. Now, scaling refers to your weapon's ability to gain damage based on your strength and dexterity stats. As you can see, it has a CC at the bottom, the param bonus, and that's CC for strength and dexterity. That means that it has moderately decent scaling in both strength and dexterity, which is what you'd expect from a perfectly moderate weapon. Now, on the right, and below that, it says auxiliary effects 00 for bleed and poison, which means that it deals no bleed and no poison buildup to anybody. It does 100 critical, which means that any critical attack it deals full standard damage without any major multipliers. Physical damage reduction. Okay, so I should also discuss what a critical attack counts as. A critical attack is anytime you backstab or riposte someone after parrying, as well as counterattacks. A counterattack is when you hit somebody while they are mid-swing, and it particularly refers to if you knock someone out of out of their swing. So if you poise break somebody at the exact moment they are swinging, that will count as a counterattack, which is a critical. Counterattacks in particular are very effective when performed with spears and other weapons that have very good reach. Damage reduction. Now let's talk about that on the right side. That is, if you block with this longsword, how much will it defend? And stability refers to how much stamina is lost when you take that hit, which means that it doesn't mean that 32 stamina is lost. It means that because it has a lower stability than most normal shields, it will lose a greater amount of stamina when you block with a longsword than with a good shield. Your required parameters, right there, means how much you even need to wield it. 10, 10. 10 strength, 10 dexterity, and no faith or intelligence. Durability, which chips down over time the more you fight, and weight, which is 3 kilograms. Here, the Zweihander. As you can see, we have very low scaling. The parameter bonus is very low for dexterity. Same critical rates though. It has much higher physical damage reduction when taking physical damage, as well as better fire reduction, and higher stability. As you can see, the required parameters for that are much higher. It says 24 strength. But how am I wielding it with 16 strength? It's because I'm two-handing it. If you meet about half the weapon's strength requirements, where was I? If you meet about half the weapon's strength requirements, so as you can see I have 16 strength, is it about half? I forget how you calculated it out, but it wasn't just half, because if it was half, then I wouldn't need 16 strength, I'd only need 12. But that's not how that works. But essentially, you meet a certain requirement for strength to two-hand it, and then the required parameters for any weapon that you are under strength for refers to what it would take to one-hand it. So it would take 46 strength to one-hand this Demon's Great Hammer. Oh, also as you can see, the Demon's Great Hammer has no reliance on dexterity. It is completely dependent on strength. As you can see, there is a dash in dexterity and a B for strength. Also, this is 10 kilograms, this is 22 kilograms. And you need to take careful note of that, because if you are overweight, you will change the properties of your rolling. Light rolling has the highest amount of invincibility frames, which means that during your roll you cannot be touched. This has a moderate amount of invincibility frames, but a longer recovery time, and heavy rolling has almost no iframes and very, very long recovery time. I want to see, actually, if I can... I can, okay. I can still medium roll with my heater shield, which is good. Oh, also you're invincible during all critical animations. That's important to mention. That's a dragon. Now, resting at a bonfire resets all of your enemies. So if you rest at a bonfire, you have to take into account the risk that all the enemies will come back, which you might not always hope for. Just gonna get rid of that. We're going to use those, and we're going to level up again. 16 strength. We're going to level up our endurance and vitality respectively, and a bit of our dexterity. As you can see, I'm not targeting every enemy because there is the targeting system, but the targeting, when targeting, you can only roll in cardinal directions: left, right, front, or back. See? So that has its own risks. The main benefits to targeting are parrying, and anytime, like with thrusting weapons, which have very specific pinhole attacks. That was a kick. A kick is done by pressing forward and your primary attack button, R1, at the same time, which does a lot of break to someone's stamina, which damages someone's stamina severely if they are guarding, or knocks them back if they are not. However, it is a damageless attack. Now, first merchant character.
Well now, you seem to have your wits about you. Then you are a welcome customer. I trade for souls. Everything's for sale.
Some items. Dried finger, orange soapstone, residence key. Sells a lot of just plain shit for the early game. Chain garments.
What a waste of time. Go and fall off a cliff.
I didn't buy anything from him, so he's very upset. Don't worry, we'll come back later. Very frustrating getting stun locked by the Joe Hollows because of this armor. Here, you'll get a crossbow, which is mainly just used as a handy little tool for dealing with certain troublesome spots or drawing enemy aggro you might not necessarily want multiples at a time of. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we have 1,000 souls. I don't really have to worry too much about being a sinner because, yeah, it's really no big deal. So this guy drops a really good early game weapon for dexterity characters, which is a katana. It's a good weapon and very recommendable to a lot of new players. I'm not going to need it. However, there's other stuff that I want. So I bought the residence key.
Thank you.
And then he has a bunch of other stuff that he drops when he dies. Like the dried fingers and the orange soapstone.
Mad, have you? I'll teach you. Mine.
I feel kind of bad for him because he's like, why me? I'm sorry, man. He's killed very often early game. So, I think if we'll look here for a second, the Uchi Katana is dependent only on dexterity and does bleed auxiliary. So how bleed works is there's a meter or a bar for somebody that ticks up every time they get hit by a bleed weapon. And when that bar caps out, they take a lot of damage and all at once. And that's pretty much the long and short of it, really. We'll just mess around with it real quick. It's a very, very respectable weapon. It uses a lot of stamina, the katanas. They use more stamina than standard longswords do, but they have very good reach, and very sturdy poise break, especially when two-handed, which is the main way you're supposed to use them for the most part. Anyways. Gonna run across this real quick because those dudes dropping fire bombs down here. This dude kicked in the door like he means business. Oof. This will not be a death-free run, by the way. I will make mistakes, like a human. Also, I'm very used to playing this game in 30 FPS, so my parrying timing might be a little off. More black fire bombs. Very good. Titanite shard. That is our first upgrade material. It is used to upgrade any standard piece of equipment. Ah, God. I've been light rolling too much. Luckily, armor actually means something in this game, so I can absorb a few hits with a decent set of armor. There's a sweet spot for backstabs. You always want to like look at the small of their back. Not like it really matters with a weapon this powerful. Okay, now. This is extremely dangerous to do when you are not very familiar as a new player, but I'm doing this to get this out of the way. Only do this if you are very confident in your parrying skills and understand the movesets of these enemies, because they can and will kill you early game if you let them. Oh, right off the bat we got their sword. Very good. We might actually use that instead of the claymore. We'll stick with the claymore though, just because they behave very similarly. But let's look at the Black Knight sword. C scaling in strength and E scaling in dexterity, but those improve as you upgrade them. But also keep in mind that a weapon's scaling is not independent. It is based off the weapon's base physical damage. So a weapon with high base physical damage might have low scaling, but not because it is bad, but because it has the low scaling to balance out its high physical base damage, since the scaling is percentile, or is like, they have some mathematical formula for it, but it's based on the weapon's base physical damage. So as you can see, this is a very high base physical damage, even higher than our Zweihander, and would indeed do a lot more damage than our Zweihander if we had the necessary dexterity. However, it has much lower scaling to balance that out. Very high physical defense, and it's lighter than the Zweihander. All of the Black Knight weapons are very, very sturdy, reliable weapons that I would recommend to any player, new or old. Hollow Soldier Shield. So, let's compare shields real quick. That has slightly higher stability. It has higher attack damage, but that's not what we care about. It has 5 less fire resistance, but 1 higher stability, but at the cost of an increased weight as well. So we will keep the heater shield. Here, we have a crystal lizard, which is this creature I just killed right here. It's hiding behind these barrels. A crystal lizard is a small NPC that will scuttle away from you if it sees you, and will disappear if you let it get too far. The intent is to kill them, and they will drop very valuable upgrade materials for you. Pressing circle will make you fall down a ladder instantly. Here is our next boss arena. We're going to buff right here, draw his attention, and run back. Then we can perform a plunging attack. Those weapon effects actually look really nice, not gonna lie. look down and wait till he looks up at you, like that. And then press R1 on the descent. Damn. Yeah, medium rolling feels really weird. I used to be like frame perfect with it. So, enemies that do extremely high knockback to you, or enemies that deal extremely high poise damage, will cause you to roll backwards when you block an attack, like I just did there. Be very careful of that, because that'll cause you to lose opportunities to follow up and punish enemies.
Ah, hello. You don't look hollow, far from it. I am Solaire of Astora, an adherent of the Lord of Sunlight. Now that I am undead, I have come to this great land, the birthplace of Lord Gwyn, to seek my very own son. You find that strange? Well, you should. No need to hide your reaction. I get that look all the time. Oh, aha. So I didn't scare you. I have a proposition, if you have a moment. The way I see it, our fates appear to be intertwined. In a land brimming with hollows, could that really be mere chance? So what do you say? Why not help one another on this lonely journey? This pleases me greatly. Well then, take this.
The White Sign Soapstone is an online play item that you set down and other players can interact with to bring you into their world. While you are in their world, you will have limited Estus uses. However, you'll earn half souls, but you get the satisfaction of helping other players through their journey. And if you are in a co-op based covenant, you will earn a reward for every time you do it.
We are amidst strange beings in a strange land. The flow of time itself is convoluted, with heroes centuries old phasing in and out. The very fabric wavers, and relations shift and obscure. There's no telling how much longer your world and mine will remain in contact. But use this to summon one another as spirits, cross the gaps between the worlds, and engage in jolly cooperation. Of course, we are not the only ones engaged in this, but I am a warrior of the sun. Spot my summon signature easily by its brilliant aura. If you miss it, you must be blind. Oh, hello there. I will stay behind to gaze at the sun. The sun is a wondrous body, like a magnificent father. If only I could be so grossly incandescent.
That entire section of dialogue was my senior quote. Fun fact.
Oh, if only.
Yep, very friendly character and a community favorite. I love him. We all love him. Everybody loves him. So, as you can see, the bridge is scorched. You want to walk back as soon as you walk onto it, because then that happens. That's some really good fire effects. Damn. I'm actually impressed with that. A lot of people use this as a grinding spot because every time you walk out on the bridge, he'll breathe fire and kill all the NPCs on it. People use that to grind for souls. And we can kick this ladder down. And bam, back at this bonfire. And we're going to pop some souls if we have any. Indeed we do. We're gonna kindle this real quick. Also, killing multiple humanoid enemies will increase a hidden meter in the game that is not visible to the player, but by doing so will increase a hidden meter that eventually will give you a soft humanity arbitrarily. Now, I'm going to go to 16 dexterity, I'm going to level a bit of vitality and endurance respectively. So, you go this way to travel under the bridge and move towards the next objective, if you're a pussy cop-out bitch. However, all us real players out here, you do this. You walk slightly out under the bridge and then go back down to piss the dragon off. And you sit here, and you run circles, and make him get angry. If he roars, that means he's angry. If he growls, comes down, you run right away. As soon as you make it in here, he will fly away. Goodbye. That was the Hellkite Drake. Very famously difficult and intimidating NPC from this game. Very few people can say they've killed it. Another Titanite shard. Beautiful. Now, we picked up the weapon we're going to be using for this playthrough, which should be above, yep, right there, the Claymore. The Claymore is 2 kilograms less than the Black Knight sword, but also deals and just like that. I got it. Oop. Oh, he just got bombed. That's weird. Yeah, and banned. Alright. Yeah, a user came in and just said some stupid shit. So anyways, yeah, the Black Knight sword we might actually end up using for a bit before the Claymore, just because we got lucky to get it. Because the Claymore has half of the overall physical damage it does. The Claymore, as you can see, though, has CC scaling and strength and dexterity. We're going to equip that for now, and when we can one-hand the Black Knight sword, we'll do that. Here is a Covenant area. This is the Warriors of Sunlight. I cannot rest here at the, or I cannot join this Covenant yet, because you either have to meet a faith requirement or be summoned a certain number of times by other players. I think it's a faith requirement of like 20 or 25, and it's lowered by 5 for every victory you get with another summon, or as a summon. Anyways, here is where the public beta test took place. Now, again, I wouldn't recommend doing this for newer players, but you'll meet this guy. Very difficult and painful to fight. And it's only by virtue of muscle memory that I'm doing this. It's a lot harder than it looks. There's another high-level upgrade item. Didn't get his sword, unfortunately. Either way. Now. We want to run up this way immediately. Ignore the spearmen because they fight very passively. And will not attack you unless you provoke them by hitting their shield. Ooh, gotta be very careful with that targeting switch. Now, this boar. I'm going to teach you how to cheese it, because really fighting it's a massive pain in the ass and you'll probably die multiple times, which will be a big waste of humanity. So, alluring skulls attract certain types of enemies. A skull with meekly lingering souls. Throat to shatter and spread souls to attract certain types of enemies. Souls are a concentration of life, and the life-starved hollows are lured by its power, not effective for all enemies. So basically, intellectual enemies will not fall for this, but enemies that desire souls will fall for it, which include this boar. Be sure to aim your skulls very carefully, by the way. Shit. As you can see, your attacks will bounce if... Yep. See, I messed it up. He's sitting in a fire right now. Oh, he died. He died from sitting in a fire. So, there is an enemy that goes and shuts that gate. But if you are fast, you can skip a bunch of faffing about down below by just running through the gate before he shuts it. That's not what we decided to do though, because I'm going to show you like specifically how to get through most of the commonly taken routes. Oh, those alluring skulls must have attracted the guys down here. Whoops. Yeah, be very careful with your movement controls because they're not always perfectly accurate. Yep, there we go. Now, moving on to the next area. These are the Balder Knights. Fun bunch of enemies. And they have a very good sword that they drop occasionally. Very, very strong. Their visual design is very, very reminiscent of Guts from Berserk in the Golden Age arc. Alright. Should have turned left instead of right. That's something that slipped my mind. Nope. Halberd, very good weapon. Ooh. Another Titanite shard. Perfect. The more upgrade materials we get, the better. Basement key. That'll come in handy later. We could actually technically not do this place right now if we wanted to. Conveniently. We're actually not going to go in from there. We're going to go around from here. We go this way. If you can hear that, that's the sound of a hammer on an anvil. This, right here, will be your home away from home. This is your Undead Parish bonfire. You will want to kindle this as soon as you can. Now that it's kindled, instead of leveling up, we're actually going to do some other stuff. First, we're going to check out what this is here.
Oh, forgive me. I was absorbed in thought. I am Siegmeyer of Katarina. Quite honestly, I've run flat up against a wall or a gate I should say. The thing just won't budge, no matter how long I wait. And oh, have I waited. So, here I sit, in quite a pickle.
Feels like they reduced the timer between dialogue lines.
Still closed. Still closed.
So, this is the first step to activating his quest line. You need to speak to him and acknowledge his presence before that gate opens, or you fail his quest line right away. The quest lines in this game are very, very sensitive and touchy. Fucking up one little thing could fuck up a quest line.
Well, you must be a new arrival. I'm Andre of Astoria. If you require smithing, then speak to me.
Learn gesture. Purchase item. Smithing. Armor. Repair box we haven't bought yet. Okay. But we can repair stuff with him. You want to buy those boxes as early as you possibly can, because you want to be able to upgrade your equipment and your you want to be able to upgrade your equipment and level up at your and repair your equipment at your convenience. You don't want to have to rely on a blacksmith to do it. It costs souls, but it's measly if you keep up on it. Souls cost is too high right now, so we're not going to do that.
Most weapons and armor are mighty sturdy indeed, but every hunk of metal has its breaking point. If you notice durability running low, it's time to repair. You can ask a blacksmith like myself, or do it on your own with a grindstone. The nice thing about weapons, they never betray you. So pay them a little respect, eh?
Yep. Alright, just got some dialogue.
Don't get yourself killed. Neither of us want to see you go hollow.
Obviously you don't want to attack him. You can harm any friendly NPC in this game, and they will become hostile. You do not want that to happen. Anyways, I think that's all we have time for today. I did a lot of explaining today. But anyways, that'll be all from me. Thank you to everybody who came to see the stream, and thank you especially to anybody who's watching this on YouTube. Please show your support, anybody who is new to the series, who is actually helped by this video, because really, the main thing I want is just to be helpful. So, I will see you guys when I stream tomorrow night, and please have a very good day. Bye bye.